Welcome to my channel. My name is Indigo, and welcome to All Things Indigo. So, I would like to talk today about regrets. We all have them. We all have regrets, and I know some people say that it's a learning experience and things like that, like the things that we go through. And I get that, yeah, but sometimes you choose certain situations and things like that. Yeah, I guess things are a learning lesson sometimes, but sometimes you just, like me, for instance, with regret, I just, you know, wish I could have done things differently. And when I talk to my sister friend, I always say, like, I wish this, I wish that, but I know I can't change the past, but so, for instance, like school, school, my education and things. Um, I attempted to try, to continue my education after I had children and things like that. Not all my children, like in the midst of it, like I think, yeah, in the midst of having children, I was constantly trying to continue my education, but because I was in a marriage, at the time, uh that didn't allow me to continuously pursue school and education and things. I mean, like I said, my husband, was very abusive, you know controlling and things like that. So I went to school. Everything was okay. Like, yeah, I said I'm going to, go back to school. Yeah, everything's okay and things. His mother was supposed to watch the kids and things, and I started going to school. Everything was fine, and then I she for some reason stopped watching the kids. I don't know why. He definitely wasn't going to watch the kids. So I had to watch the kids, and I don't know why. I don't think I knew that, I could have, I don't believe I knew I could put them in daycare. Um, well, I was going to night school at that time, but I would have changed it over had somebody suggested it to me, like, maybe go to day school and put the kids, in daycare. I wish I would have known that. Those are some things that I'm like, man, I regret. Um, you know, uh, I've tried multiple times to go to school, and each time it was like, yeah, so um, even after I separated from my husband, I tried school, but I didn't know. Like, I went to GED classes and things like that. But I was at that time, I still was mentally really, really bad. That's when I was having really bad panic attacks. So going to school was like, sitting in a classroom full of people and things. And mind you, my seat was up front. So I'm sweating profusely at times, heart racing and things like that. There was times where we would be taking tests and I would have to get up and stand outside the classroom and just get some air and try to calm down. And I did it a couple of times, on certain occasions, and my teacher noticed that I was having these problems and things like that, and she was like, "Are you okay?" and something. And she didn't know if her, and I didn't volunteer that, like, yes, I have, I have panic attacks and stuff. So it was, I just quit because I just felt like it was too much for me. So I went on to try to just take the GD test, right? I studied on my own. I tried to study on my own. I was taking class, like, they had, so PBS had these GD classes, what they were free at that time, and you can go and study. They would, study what you, practice with you, things like that. So I did that for a while, and um, went to take the test. um, and it was horrible. Like I think the first test I got through, and then I had to go to the bathroom and throw water in my face. And this lady was like, "Are you okay? You don't look so well." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay." I actually had medication. I took my medication with me that I was prescribed by a doctor when and tried to take that to calm down, but it didn't work and things. And the last little bit of the last, I believe it was the math test, I just wrote it, I just tried to hurry up so I can get out of there. I was really, really in a bad way. And at that time I didn't know how to deal, with what this thing was and stuff. So I left. And yeah, I failed the test because, yeah, I just, wrote, I just was checking any box and stuff like that. Um so those are some regrets I had. Well, maybe I'll change it because it I shouldn't have regrets about things I feel like was out of my control, you know, at that time. And the depression and anxiety is really, 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 it's I wouldn't even wish it on I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, to go through that type of, it's like torture, mentally, physically, I got so depressed at one point that I began to gain a lot of weight and things like that. And I just remember starting to have back pains. um I'm gonna, if I could, post pictures down below of what I used to, look like. But now I'm not saying I was like, model size, but it just was before I just started having back pains and things like that. And I'm like, what is this? One day I was crossing the street, and my legs began to feel, from my waist down, began to feel like sandbags, like I was carrying sandbags. I'm like, what is going on? It's like they wanted to stop moving. And when I got to the corner, to because I was going to the store, they have a like a newspaper box, and I sat on it because I just was like, I had to gather myself. I was like, what happened? What exactly just happened to me? And so that went away. I went in the store, continued back to the park, but it was in my mind like, what happened? Like, what's going on? So I actually went to get X-rays, and they suggested that I go have an MRI. Um, I don't think I went right away, but what happened was I was in my house, and on my right side, I was cleaning up and playing with my daughter, and I went to bend down and something popped. I just heard like a snap out of something. And when I tell you it was excruciating pain, it was really bad. I cried. I was in the bed. I couldn't lay down. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't do pretty much anything. And barely could get out the bed to make it to the bathroom. That's how bad it was. And I went to the hospital and found out that I had a slip disc. So I'm like, wow, okay. It just was crazy. So they're like, yeah, you got to do this. You go to physical therapy, things like that, blah, 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 and I'm doing all of this stuff, but it's not helping. But it's not helping because I'm also continue to eat bad, and I'm dealing with depression and things like that. So I'm not helping the situation. And at that time, I don't, I was just lost in the fog. And then another time, I don't know what I was doing, but I think I went actually. went to a get together, and there was dancing and everything, and I'm dancing and everything, and I just felt something in my back, but it wasn't as bad as the first time. So when I got home, I got in the shower and I was running hot water. I'm like, hot water will take care of it. Now it felt all right for the moment, but when I got up in the morning, I couldn't get up. That was first. I'm trying to sit up, and it was so bad. It was horrible. The pain was worse than the right side. The left side was worse. So now I'm dealing with this pain to the point where my kids was, propping pillows up behind me because I couldn't lay down. It was another time I couldn't sit up, I couldn't lay down, couldn't do anything. And I remember trying to get out the bed to use the bathroom, and I couldn't make it because it was excruciating. If anybody knows anybody that's ever had a herniated disc, and then on top of that, I had found, okay, so anybody that knows somebody that had a herniated disc, you have to know that thing is painful. And so I ended up urinating on myself, and I cried because I couldn't believe it. I'm just like, what is going on? And my daughter, my oldest daughter, she was like, "Mommy, don't worry about it." And she cleaned it up and everything. And I was just like, what is going on? What is my life coming to? You know? And after, I got, finally got to the bathroom, washed up everything, and I just was remember feeling miserable, horrible. But yeah, so not only did I have a herniated disc on my left side, I had sciatica. They diagnosed me with sciatica as well. So I'm feeling, if down my leg, it feels like a rubber band, like I have a rubber band in my leg, and at times it's stretching. It's feeling like I'm stretching it to capacity, not knowing that, like, this is my nerves, things. And I'm, going to physical therapy and trying to, I'm like, okay, you know, change my diet. But then here I'm, I'll do well and then I'll fall off, and I'll do well and I'll fall off because in my mind, I'm not ready for the discipline. I'm not ready to accept this and things. I just noticed that my walking got less and less. It's because of the pain. So I went from walking. Now, I used to walk, believe it or not, I walked miles. Me and my friends used to walk miles. Um, and even after that, I had a friend, we would go out and we would walk, for exercise. So we would walk blocks, things like that. And it went from that to walking 5 blocks and then having to rest. And then it went from 5 blocks and having to rest to walking 2, 3 blocks, then walking block. And now I am a bit immobile. I can still walk, thank God, but the pain is still, because I'm heavier. This is the heaviest I've ever been. I want to, if I can post pictures, I will post pictures of how I, previously was and things like that. But it's hard. I do exercise. I started doing exercise here and there. The physical therapy wasn't really working. I felt like sometimes my back was hurting more when I left, from them leaning on my back and putting things in and everything like that. So I am starting, again, my physical journey. I would do things at home anyway, but right now I'm starting my new physical journey. I will be posting videos, of the fun ways that I love to exercise now. Now, I just, like I said, started really, really getting back into it. So I'm hoping that I'm able to stay with it. Um, Also, my daughter's a vegan, so she helps me with meals and things like the healthy meals. um I try to do my part too. It's just like I love snacking, but I try to make sure I leave it to the weekends. And I don't go crazy because it's like, okay, the weekend, but I still try to do things that's not high in sugars and things like that. I had stopped drinking juice, you know, period. I was just drinking water, but now I allow myself to have a juice, right, here and there, things like that. So, um, I'm hoping you guys will go, I enjoy watching my journey. Because I love watching. I watch YouTube and I watch people journeys and videos of, uh, because health journeys, because that is a part of self care as well. Not just taking care of your inside, but your outside. But still is your inside. You know, um, not just your mental, but your physical. Because health is wealth. That's what they say. So I'm trying to join that journey, and hopefully, you know, I, I had a doctor tell me just push through the pain, and then I had another doctor tell me pushing through the pain can cause more bone friction and more severe more pain, and I'm just like, what do I do? So the first thing I want to do is get some of this weight off me. Now I know, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, 47 years old, but I felt, I know I still can do it, and I'm going to try to do it. And I'm going to hopefully one of these days be able to show you guys the meal prep things that I do. I definitely meal prep, and I learned that meal prepping and eating meals, it doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be boring, but we'll talk more about that at a later date. I pray you like, share, and subscribe, and or comment, and I will talk to you guys later. Blessings and joy.